Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to be back with another video for y'all, and I think y'all are really gonna like this story time I'm gonna bring y'all. And no, it's not clickbait, it actually happened. So sit back, relax, get comfortable, and let's go on this little story time ride. So before we get started, I wanted to apologize to y'all because I know it's been a long minute since I last posted a video. I've had a few different things going on. Obviously, we've all been dealing with Corona, the COVID-19, and that's been an overwhelming situation for everyone. And, you know, everyone's been affected in some way or another. And so, you know, like everyone else, I was just taking the time to make sure I'm keeping myself in a positive headspace. And I've also been in the process of relocating, so I've been packing and stuff, so y'all can see like my empty room. I got all my boxes and stuff pushed aside because y'all need to see all that mess. So yeah, I've had a lot going on, and so I'm trying to make sure I stay consistent with this, but I apologize y'all because like I said, it's been a minute. I am back today to have y'all entertained because y'all, this is another one of my stories, and I think this one will be entertaining for y'all because I feel like the learning lesson out of it is, you know, sometimes when you travel, you get kind of caught up in the moment and you don't always make the best decisions. And those can lead to some either really entertaining or funny stories or scary or a combination of both. And I think in hindsight now, this story is funny to me, but definitely at the time it was very, very scary to experience. So yeah, let's get into the story. I'm gonna start giving y'all the rundown. Anyway, let's get to this story. I want to give you guys a few things to know about me, and then a few things about the location and the setting, and kind of set up the story so you have that reference as I'm telling it. It'll make a lot more sense. So this story takes place in Paris, France, at the Palace of Versailles. And if you have already watched how I began solo traveling, that story time on my page, then this story that's I'm gonna tell y'all is part of that trip. So on top of the craziness that I had getting the trip started, I also had another crazy learning experience within the trip. So this was just a big fun learning lesson of a trip, basically. You know, I had a lot going on, y'all, as y'all are about to find out. So anyways, kind of give y'all some backstory about me. I love history. I've always loved history. I was that kid who was nose deep in some type of historical book. I was reading about all different kinds of people all over the world. That's always been my thing. I'm that person now who, when I take trips, I am trying to go to every historic site, every museum. I'm trying to convince my friend that we need to go to one last museum of the day. You know, they're like, girl, how many statues we're gonna see today? And I'm like, but you know, it's just so interesting to me. I love history. I always like to try to see as many historical monuments and places and learn as much as I can about the history of wherever I'm going. That's just something that personally interests me on my travels. And since I was a kid who always loved learning about history, I was particularly interested in learning about royalty. That was really interesting to me as a kid for some reason, and so I knew a lot about European royalty. And of course, obviously, as a result of that, I knew a lot about like their residences. And one of the most famous ones in France, if not the most famous royal residence, is the Palace of Versailles. And so when I knew I was going to Paris, I was so excited, y'all. I was so excited to be able to go and see this place in person. So the Palace of Versailles, just to give y'all a history lesson, It was built by Louis the, oh Lord, y'all. I just said I love history. I remember, you know, there were a lot of kings and queens, so I don't remember the number. Let's go with 16. This is very contradictory to what I just said, but one of the Louis, okay? He had built the palace up from being a small hunting lodge, just basically like a vacation getaway from Paris, to this huge palace that now sits on 2,000 acres. And it's best known for its, in English, it's called basically like the Hall of Mirrors. And it's this ginormous room filled with mirrors, obviously, and chandeliers and murals, and the whole palace is decked out in gold and color. I mean, he had money. Like, he was just left, I want this, I want that. Like, that was him. I'm sure his queen was like, y'all know that video where that girl's going, he got money? Like, that was probably her, because he was just, I mean, whatever he wanted, he was putting on there. You can tell because it's just decked out in gold. So I think that's enough of a history lesson. And so it's just a very well-known palace. Tons and tons of tourists go there. So it's a very popular tourist attraction. And like I said, it sits on over 2,000 acres of land, I think, give or take. So there's a lot to see when you go, and it's definitely a whole day trip. So I was very excited about visiting, and your girl was like, I'm about to pretend like I'm the queen for the day, honey. Like, I'm a broke college student, but your girl can dream, okay? So I was like, I'm gonna get cute. I'm gonna put on my little fur. I'm gonna do my makeup, and I'm gonna waltz around the palace like I own it for the day in my head, ignoring the, you know, hundreds of little tourists walking around, because, you know, they're peasants. They don't matter. I'm kidding, y'all. I was, you know, I'm not gonna lie. You know, my inner kid leaped out that day. Your girl was ready to role play royalty that day. And look, if they would have called me a queen, I would have ran with it. Anyways, y'all, I'm too much. So I think it would be helpful for y'all to see just how big this place is. So I am going to put some pictures right now in the video so that you guys can kind of see what the palace looks like and the size of it, because that's important and relevant for the story and the details I get to later. So here's some pictures that I took or I found online. The ones that I found online, I don't own the rights to those, so y'all don't take my video down. Just want to show the people. Okay, so y'all can kind of see how big the place is and how far it stretches on. So if you've watched my previous videos, you also know that I am a big planner, and I was definitely planning this trip to the T, especially once I found out I was going by myself. And like I mentioned earlier, I knew that this was going to be a day trip, and from my research, everyone was saying you need to get there early to avoid the crowds. If you want to spend the whole day going through the palace fully and reading everything and being in the gardens and all of that stuff, plus transportation time, because it was about a 40-minute train ride outside of the city of Paris. So I knew that it was going to be a very long trip, and there was, you know, some preparation in advance for it. You had to book your ticket online before. Well, that's what people recommended, that you book your ticket online in advance and you get there really early, because the line can get really long and you can miss out on half of your day waiting in line, and then you either have to rush through everything or you don't get to see everything. I was like, again, your girl, I'm the queen first off. Queens don't rush, so I need to be there early. I think actually the saying is queens get there whenever they want, but you know, that's neither here nor there. This queen doesn't rush, so she gets there early. So I had planned for that. I was like, I'm gonna get up early, and then I knew I had to go to the train station, buy a ticket, take the ride, and then once I got there, because I was getting there early, you know, I'd be able to get in quick and have enough time to explore. Now, it was recommended that it would take about, I think it was like 3 to 4 hours to go through the palace, and then another couple of hours to go through the gardens if you really like took your time, because there was also an audio guide that you got that was explaining the history, and then there were little plaques that you could read, and you also had to navigate all the tourists that were there. So you definitely wanted to take the whole day to or give yourself the whole day to be able to go through everything. So I was like, okay, I bought my ticket in advance, I laid out my outfit, and I set my alarm, and I was like, I'm gonna get up early, I'm gonna do so I can do my makeup, do my hair, and be presentable and cute, and you know, I can get in and have a great day, right? That was my plan for the day. Let me tell y'all how it didn't go that way at all. So the first problem was, woke up and I took too long doing my makeup. And you know, the whole time this was happening, I was thinking, you know, for me to be a queen for today, I shouldn't have to do my makeup. Like, I should be having someone do it for me. This is ridiculous. This is the 4th time I just tried to do my eyebrows and I can't get them right. And so, yeah, I was struggling. So I was struggling with my makeup. So it took me way longer than it normally does to do my makeup, because I'm also a perfectionist. So I was like, this is my day. I'm you know, out and about in this place that I've dreamed of going to since I was a kid. You know, I want my pictures to turn out cute. So I want to feel as if I'm cute. I don't want to feel like I did, you know, a horrible job on my makeup, and I'm feeling, you know, just not fully, I'm not looking fully how I want to look, you know? So I was determined, so, you know, I had to fix it. So that put me behind. Once I finished my makeup, I was probably a good, like, 45 minutes to an hour behind. So I'm like, oh no, baby, like, this isn't gonna work. Rushing to do my hair, throw it back real quick, and, you know, throw on my outfit, and I'm doing like a speed walk to the train station, like going. And of course, you know, everything is in French, and my French is terrible. So it took me some time to get through the ticketing process to get my ticket. Then once I got my ticket, obviously the train wasn't immediate, so I did have to wait. I don't think very long, because I happened to come at a good time, but I had to wait a little bit. And then the train ride was 40 minutes, I think. It was either 40 or 45 minutes to Versailles. You know, I'm trying to enjoy the train ride when I'm on it, but like I said, I'm a perfectionist a little bit, and although I do like to plan, I'm usually pretty flexible about, you know, my plans. But again, since I knew that 1, I was alone, and 2, this would be an all-day thing, and this was something I was excited about seeing, I did want to be on time that day. So I was a little frustrated with myself because I wasn't, you know, following my schedule. You know, I'm trying to just relax and be like, girl, you're about to go to this palace that you've always dreamed of seeing. Like, just enjoy the ride, enjoy the view. So, you know, I'm cozying on along. And so in my mind, when I arrived to the Versailles train station, I had assumed that you would get off and the palace would just be there, like, or within like a 5-minute walk. And so, you know, I walk out of the train station, it's a bunch of like, it looks like a French town, you know, a bunch of homes and shops and stuff. And I'm sitting here like, did I get off at the wrong stop? Like, but that was the end of the line. So I was like, I know I didn't get off on the wrong stop. And it says Versailles, like, where am I? So I had to ask someone, and they're like, oh no, baby, you gotta walk. And so apparently you have to walk like 20 or 30 minutes. So I'm like, oh my gosh, because, you know, that puts me even further behind. So here I go, speed walking. I'm speed walking to the palace. So by this time, because of my makeup failures and you know, other unplanned things like having to walk through the town, I was probably a good hour to 2 hours behind schedule of when I wanted to arrive. And so I'm getting up there and I see like the parking lot's pretty full and stuff, because instead of getting there early, I'm kind of getting there around the time that everyone else gets there. I'm stressing because I'm like, oh my God, hopefully it's just not a big line. And basically get up there. The palace has this big courtyard, right? And the courtyard is, I kid you not, probably about the size of like a football field. It's huge. Probably more wide than long, but probably about the same measurements. And so I get there and I have never in my life seen a line this long. Imagine the summer lines at like Carowinds or King's Dominion or Six Flags times 3. Like if you put 3 of those mad long roller coaster rides that everyone wants to do, if you put 3 of those lines together, that was the line. The whole line snaked around that whole football field sized courtyard. And it was like this, right? And so I was like, oh my God. So I rushed to go get in line. You know, I pull up my ticket. So obviously I'm gonna be waiting, but I pull up my ticket just so it's there. And as I pull it up, I'm seeing that it says you must print your ticket. If you don't print your ticket, then you won't be admitted or something like that. And so then I start stressing in the line, because I'm like, okay, I bought my ticket online. I obviously didn't have access to a printer. So am I gonna have to go to like the box office? And if I have to go to the box office, that means I have to get out of line to do that. But I also don't want to sit there and wait in this whole long line just to be turned away. So, you know, I'm battling with myself for like 10 minutes. And I'm finally like, you know, let me just go make sure that I can go in with this mobile ticket. And, you know, the rest of this is just BS, because I'd rather make sure than to get up to the front and, you know, they don't take me and then I have to wait, you know, another long period of time. So go to the box office and there's a line out the door for the box office, because it's obviously where people buy tickets and where people ask their questions and stuff as well. So I'm like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. And so I'm kind of freaking out, and mentally in my head, I'm like, okay, what am I gonna have to not see so that, you know, I can still get the most out of this day. So in my head, I'm like, oh my God, like, girl, were your eyebrows that serious? Like in my head, that's what I'm thinking about. So I end up having to wait in the box office line a good, probably at least 20 to 30 minutes. And I get up to the front and I'm like, can I use this? Like, they're like, oh yeah, basically. They're like, oh yeah, you're good, girl, go get in line. And so I'm irritated with myself, because I'm like, and them, because I'm like, well, this here, y'all need to change what it says on y'all's tickets, because it said I can't use this, and now you're saying I can, so I just got out of line for no reason. You know, I wasn't saying that to them because I was rushing to get back in line, but as I was rushing back to get in line, I was thinking about this. So I get back outside, and I couldn't see outside at all from the way the box office was set up. So I didn't know what the line looked like or anything. So I get back outside and the line is even longer, if you can imagine. And I'm like, this line is it's gonna take me at least an hour to get to the front, at least an hour. So by now we're probably at like 11 o'clock-ish, give or take. So I get in the line and I'm like, all right, you know, waiting. It starts to get cloudy. I'm like, y'all, it better not. I've already had a tough morning. It better not rain. And what do y'all think it did? It started drizzling. So your girl was standing in her cute outfit looking stupid in the rain. Super late, irritated with myself. Everyone, I was kind of dealing with it I guess, traveler's blues that day too as well, because like I said, this was my first time traveling solo. So, you know, I was still very much so adjusting to the fact that I was alone, and everybody else, all the other tourists waiting in line were with family, you know, it was families or couples or friends or whatever. So everyone was talking to everybody, and, you know, I'm just sitting here by myself, and I couldn't use my phone a lot because I think I had like a data plan or something like that. So, you know, the line was invoking some traveler's blues as well. So I'm waiting, and it's drizzling and gross, and I'm just like, this is not turning out how I want. But, you know, I'm trying to keep it positive. So at the same time, I'm like, girl, you are literally making your dreams happen. You're about to go in this cool palace and see everything and get your history fill of the day. It's gonna be great. So, you know, I switched back and forth between those thought processes for the next 2 hours, because guess who was in line for 2 hours? 2 hours, 2 hours in the rain, 2 hours, 2 hours. Did y'all hear that? 2 hours. 2 hours. I don't know if y'all heard that. Did you? I heard it. Did you? 2 hours. So after that crazy amount of time, I finally get up to the front, and in my head, I'm envisioning scenarios like in apocalypse movies where they're just pushing everybody aside in the grocery store to get, you know, what they need. And that's what I wanted to do in my head. But, you know, I'm maintaining my calm demeanor, or attempting to, on the outside, because I was a ball of irritation with myself and the situation, and the fact that it was raining, because I hate the rain and cloudiness. And I was just frankly bored after. Like, I mean, it had been pretty much 3 hours total since I had been there, because I had the period of time waiting in the box office, and before that, my few minutes in line. So about 3 hours I have been there in line or waiting to get in. It's about lunch hour when I finally get into the palace, and the angels are singing. It's beautiful. I am like completely taken aback, in awe of the place. I up until that point had never seen anything like that in my life, and it's still one of the craziest, biggest displays of wealth I have ever seen in my life. I mean, again, they were royalty. So, you know, I'm really taking the time to soak in everything about the palace and learn as much as I can. So I take my time once I get in, you know. I had waited for 3 hours, so your girl was going to take her time. And every plaque, I was going to read every one of those. And I was just so happy. I wasn't even upset about, I don't usually like crowds, but I wasn't even upset about the tourists, none of that. So, you know, your girl was living. I was in the queen's apartments. I was like, I could be here. This could be my life. Like, let me up these grades and get to work, because this is real nice. I could do this, you know. So I was having a good old time in there, learning everything and just enjoying all that there was to offer and see in the palace. And that took me like the recommended time, about 3-ish hours, maybe a little bit more than that. So the way that the tour goes is it takes you through the palace first. Once you exit out the palace, you exit into the gardens. And like I said, just as a reminder, the gardens stretch for miles, and the palace itself just sits on a lot of land. So it's pretty extensive. And as you guys saw in the pictures, you know, it's like one central lake or pond, I guess, that cuts through directly behind the palace. And then on either side of that, all those bushes and trees you saw were different mazes. And there were also roads to other little estates that the queen had of her own, or later queen, I think, had of her own and stuff, along with big like gardens and fountains and stuff. So there was just a lot to see. And So once I got out there, I was like, oh, round two, like this is beautiful. And I'm out there, I'm getting my pictures in. I'm also, you know, checking my phone because I hadn't done that at all when I was in the palace, you know, just kind of updating people like, hey, I'm still alive, and, you know, just checking my messages. So I do that for a brief second, and then I start walking around the gardens, and they have music playing in the fountain, and I was like, this is the life. Like, the French really knew where it was at because they were living, honey. Like, I can't imagine strolling through here privately and you own it with, you know, good French wine, and your girl, my imagination was just going. I was like, this is amazing. And so, you know, I'm getting my pictures in, and I'm having strangers take my pictures. So that takes time too, because I have to, if you've traveled solo before or just needed someone to take your pictures, you kind of know you have to filter out. Like, you have to find someone who's going to be the right photographer for you. You know, not everyone's willing to take your pictures or takes good pictures. So you have to find someone that you feel like is going to. So I had a few different people take my pictures, just so I got a few different opportunities to get good ones. So that took some time, and, you know, just observing and taking in everything and walking through the mazes. So I spent probably the next hour or so doing that, and then I walked back to the Queen's Estates, which were also open for visitors. So by the time I get to the Queen's Estates, I'm realizing I'm kind of getting hungry, remembering that I hadn't eaten anything all day because I was just in such a rush. And, you know, I was kind of weighing my options because it was already dinner time. At that point, I think it was about 5 or after 5, in between like 5 or 6, something like that. And I knew that the estate itself, I had just walked there, so it took me a good like 20-30 minutes to walk back there because it was pretty set back from the palace itself. If you guys remember the picture, you know, there was that long lake and all the trees on the side, and so you had to like take a ride and go down this big road, and that's how you got there. It took a minute. So I knew that by the time I walked back from the Queen's Estates, after I was done, walked back to where the palace was, and then past that to the train station, that was probably going to take me a good 45 minutes at least. Then I've got to, you know, book a ticket and then wait for my train. And I was like, that's too long to wait to eat. I'm hungry, and, you know, I'm enjoying my day, so why not have the full experience and eat at one of the restaurants that I know are probably going to be expensive, but, you know, splurge every once in a while, and have the full experience at the palace. Like, I can say I ate at a restaurant on the palace grounds, which isn't as exciting as it sounds because it's just restaurants for tourists, but it felt exciting at the time. So I was like, you know, F it, I'm going to splurge and enjoy a nice dinner there. And this is where the story gets juicy, because in my hunger pains and my excitement about being where I wasn't fully considering, you know, the time and my schedule. That had kind of got lost in the moment. And I was like, oh, this is just so nice. I'm just gonna, you know, enjoy it. Not thinking about the fact that it's dinner time, and this is in November. So, you know, these are all things I should have been thinking about, because I picked the restaurant that was closest to the estate, and obviously it was one that was also one that was furthest away from the palace. But I was hungry and it looked good. The menu looked good and it was cute. And so I was like, yeah, I'm going to go here. So I go, and they, for some reason, I guess it must have been busy. I don't quite remember the ambiance exactly. But for whatever reason, I'm seated in the back of the restaurant. So there's like no windows or anything like that in my immediate vicinity. But I like to people watch, so I was fine because it was at a place where, you know, I could view anybody coming in and out and stuff like that. And obviously, if you're eating alone, that's something fun. Well, not everyone's like that, but that's what I like to do if I'm eating out alone. Like, I like to people watch and just watch my environment. So I was fine with it. So I was in the back and I was having a good old time, y'all. I ordered a great little French, or what I felt like was a little French meal. It was my first time trying creme brulee, and I was talking with my waitress and trying to practice, attempting to practice my French with her. And so I was just having a good time and enjoying myself. And, you know, reminiscing on the day, going through, again, my pictures and stuff like that. And as I was going through my pictures, I was kind of noticing my service was kind of bad since it was set back far away from the palace. I assumed that their Wi-Fi or whatever internet service they had was like in the palace or in that immediate area. So I was like, I don't really have good service out here, but you know, doesn't really matter, whatever. I'm just looking through my pictures. I just have to post whatever I want to post for Instagram later. Cool. So, y'all, I finished my meal. I pay. I'm reveling in the great day that I had. I am on a travel high, and I'm like, I just fulfilled one of my dreams. This is so exciting. Like, I'm so happy. I'm walking out, like, saying goodbye to all the waiters and waitresses. They're probably like, this typical American, like, she won't shut up. But they had actually been really nice to me. That's why I was talking to them. But anyways, and I step outside. Y'all. And because I was just enjoying myself and having a good old time, I hadn't thought about the fact that the sun would have to go down. And I am in a historic monument, meaning there is no type of modern electricity at all on the premises outside of the tourist restaurant. So I step outside to pitch darkness. I can't see anything. So I step out to pitch darkness and woods. Y'all, when I say I was shook, I stepped out. I was like, I literally walked back in the restaurant and walked back out. Like, that's how shook I was. I was like, this, I know I did not just do this to myself. And when I say it's dark, it's the type of dark, I am not exaggerating, y'all. I held my hand up in front of my face. I couldn't see my hand, that type of dark. And once I stepped away from the restaurant, that type of dark. And I'm realizing, like, it's really dark. I mean, it's dark. Like, I can't see anything. And I can't see the palace. I can't even see the lake, which the lake was, you know, I could have walked 30 seconds and been at the lake. I couldn't even see that. I start freaking out, obviously, because I'm like, now I'm here after dark, and I know that this palace stretches on for miles, or the land stretches on for miles, and it's woods, and I'm like, I don't know what's out here. I don't know how to get home. What if they have gates? And I'm like locked in this palace, and I'm trying to rationalize, like, well, the employees are here, so, you know, I'm weighing my options. I'm like, do I go back in and ask for help? Do I wait for the restaurant to close and see if they just let me sit in there and one of the employees can walk me? And, you know, I'm thinking through all of that. And that was originally going to be my decision, but then I realized I had to catch the train back. And the train stopped at a certain hour, meaning I had to go ahead and go, because if I sat and waited for the restaurant to close, I think it was a few more hours before it closed, then I wouldn't be able to catch the train back. That wasn't an option, y'all. I don't think, that's one of the few times where I have genuinely felt terrified, because again, remind you, this is my first time traveling alone. So even during the daytime with a crowd around and stuff like that, you know, I still have moments of anxiety, because, you know, I was adjusting and learning how to travel by myself. And now I put myself in a situation where I was stuck at the palace after dark. It's pitch dark. There are no street lights. I'm in the middle of miles, literally miles of woods. And I knew that the palace itself had the gates in the courtyard from earlier. So I knew I couldn't just walk back up to the palace because there were gates in front of it. And I knew that would be locked. And the gates the way it was set up, it just wouldn't be possible to go through the palace. So I knew that I was going to have to take one of the side roads and just hope it took me in the direction I was supposed to be going. On top of that, as I mentioned earlier, I really didn't have good phone service at all. So that heightened my fear, because I'm like, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, a first-time solo traveler, a female, alone, in the pitch dark. I have no idea where I'm going, and my phone doesn't work too well, and I don't speak French well at all. What am I gonna do? And like, I'm feeling the panic come on me, and I'm like, okay, you have to be rational about this. Like, you're going to have to figure this out. Like, that's it. You're gonna have to figure this out. And so as I'm, all these thoughts are racing in my head, I'm trying to decide. Apparently the locals must walk or exercise at night, because while I was having all those thoughts, I had seen a person or two walk by. And I knew they weren't tourists, because it was like, a group, and they were talking, and I could tell they weren't tourists, that they were locals. So as I kind of make this decision that, okay, I'm going to have to just try to brave it out, I'm like, well, maybe I can ask one of these people. The next person I see go by, I can ask them, and maybe they'll be kind enough to like lead me in the direction I'm supposed to go, or kind of see that I'm scared and just help me. And so the next person walked by happened to be a man, and he was, I guess, meeting a friend. I'm assuming that's who it was. And he had, like, from what I could make out, it looked like he was gonna run. Like, they were gonna do like a run. So I was like, excuse me, like, how do I get back? And he was, in the very French way, very curt and to the point. He was like, oh, you go down this road for X amount of time, and then you'll see the road turn, and you go down that road, and you just follow it to the town. And then I was like, oh, okay. Like, and he was gone before the words got out my mouth. So I was like, oh, okay. Like, you're not gonna help me out. I'm gonna have to do this alone. So, he starts walking with his friend. I'm like, well, they're walking the direction he told me to go on that same road. And I'm like, I'm just gonna follow him. So I turn on my little phone flashlight, and I'm like speed walking. Cause like I said, they at that point weren't running. They were just doing like a fast walk. And so I was like, oh, I can follow behind them and I'll feel a lot more comfortable. So I'm like, trying to keep up with them and walking. They're probably like, this creepy girl. And so I am terrified, because I'm literally, as I'm walking in the pitch dark, and my eyes are starting to adjust a little bit so I can make out like the tree and the road. And this was the same road I had taken to get to the Queen's Estates earlier. So I remember like what it looked like, it was just a big open road with trees on either side, and then the woods past that. I'm following them, and I'm having these thoughts of like, we are in the woods. Like, what if I get lost and there's animals? Like, I don't want to be bear food. Or what if I take the wrong turn and I'm walking all night in the woods in the middle of France with no phone service? And I'm like, what am I gonna do? So y'all, I used to go to like a wilderness survival camp when I was little. So when I was a kid. So I went back to that. I was like, okay, you can do this. Like, if you get stuck or you get lost, you'll just have to climb a tree. I don't know how you're gonna do it, because you have no upper body strength and haven't been working out this whole trip, but you're gonna have to find a way to climb up in one of these trees and just sleep there to the morning when you can see, or when it's bright enough where you can see things, and then you can climb down and walk back to the town. And you're just gonna have to spend a night in the middle of the woods. So as I'm speed walking behind them, I'm preparing for that, because I'm like, in case I get lost, or in case I don't know where I'm going, or whatever the case may be, let me mentally prepare myself to sleep in the woods, because that's what I'm gonna be doing. That's what you deserve after not paying attention to the time and being late because of your makeup. You're now gonna be sleeping in the woods in the middle of France. So, and trying to follow these people and trying not to have a panic attack about the fact that I'm in this situation, and of course it's all my fault. There was no one to blame but me, and I just simply wasn't paying attention. I got too caught up in the moment. And so anyways, I'm following these people. However, they walk really fast, and I don't walk that fast. So as fast as I was trying to go to keep up, I felt like they kept going like 2 times faster. So, but they weren't running up until the very end. So they could just walk fast. I don't know. And so because they were walking so fast, they just kept getting further and further ahead of me. So they were, after walking maybe like 20 minutes, they were a good ways away from me. Like I could barely make them out type of deal. Because by this point, my eyes have fully, adjusted as much as they could. So, I could make out their outline and stuff. I'm trying to keep up, but it's not really happening. And they keep on going, and I'm just like trying to walk as fast as I can, because I'm like, I really at this point just don't want to be alone in these woods. Like, they're my source of comfort, even though they have no idea who I am and aren't paying any attention to me or way ahead of me. It's comforting to know that there is people immediately around. And so, as I said, the guy's directions were like, basically, you go down this road for a little bit, and then you're going to make a right, and you have to just follow that road all the way till you get to the town, and you'll see the town. And I knew it was going to be like an hour walk, and so I was like, oh my God. So I get to the intersection, or I'm getting to the intersection that the man had given me the directions to turn at to walk straight down and get to the town. And I was internally, like, I was sweating, palms were sweating. I was actually shaking. That's how nervous I was, because I also knew since they were so far ahead of me, they had already passed the intersection and they kept going straight. So I knew once I made that turn, I was going to be walking like completely by myself. And so I'm like, oh my God, like I'm really going to have to make this long walk in the dark woods by myself. And there's going to be no one around, like. And I'm not an emotional person at all. Like, if you know me personally, you know for a fact I'm not an emotional person. But I thought I was gonna cry. I felt like breaking down. But I'm just like, keep yourself strong. You just need to make it where you need to make it. If you hear any animals, you're gonna have to find that adrenaline and climb that tree, girl. So get to the intersection, and I turn the corner. As I turn the corner, I see a bus. And y'all, when I say I probably could have won an Oscar for my performance, I have never ran so fast. I ran to the bus, and the bus was just stopped. Like, it was just sitting, it was stopped in the middle of the road. So I guess that was like a stop, but there was no stop outside, because like I said, it was the woods, like a road in the woods. So I don't know, maybe it's the bus that waited for the employees or something like that who worked on the grounds late. I don't know why the bus was there, but it was just there, sitting there, and there were a few people inside of the driver. So I literally ran up and like banged on the front of the door. And like the bus driver, he's watching, like I said, they were just waiting. So he's watching his little show, whatever. So he's looking up like, can I help you, basically? And he opens the door. I walk on, and I hadn't taken the bus yet in Paris, so I didn't know how much anything cost or how the ticket, because as you guys probably know, each city all over the world has different ticketing methods and different, some can be electronic, some you get like a paper one and you have to push it in. It's all different stuff, so I didn't know how it worked. And like I said, my French is very minimal, like very, and so he didn't really speak English either. So I'm like trying to ask how much it costs, and I'm like shaking still. So he's looking at me like, and I'm like, how much? Like, just take it all. I don't even care. You can have €5 for this. Just get me there. And he's literally like, and explaining what I assume to be the cost. And since I don't know French, I don't know the exact cost. So he finally like snatches whatever he needs out, and like, he's just like, just go. And so I'm like, thank you, merci, like, thank you. And I run to the back and sit down, and the relief that came over me, guys, I can't even begin to explain, because you know, when you get caught in scary moments, you're not thinking really in the moment of how scared you are. You're thinking about how you're going to get out of a situation, you know. So it's not until you're out of the situation that you can really have that moment to reflect. And that's the second I sat down, I was like, oh, you're okay. And I realized how terrifying that had been and how unsafe and unsmart that was, or unsmart isn't a word, but how unsafe and dumb of me to go about that situation like that and just not pay attention. And so we sat there for like another 20 minutes, and then, you know, he rode to the station. I was able to get on the train, got back late to Paris. It was dark, but, you know, it was fine. Got back fine, and was able to continue on with my trip great. But that day was definitely a learning lesson for me. After that, every day after that on that trip, y'all, when I say I was on that schedule, I was like, y'all will not catch me out in the middle of nowhere again. Although I didn't even leave for Paris, I wasn't outside of the city again. But it was just that fear of that experience that kind of heightened my need to stick to the schedule or the itinerary that I had planned. So it ended up going well in the end, and I survived, but it was definitely one of my scariest travel experiences, and it was an amazing experience to visit the palace, but I would never wish that experience of getting stuck at a palace in the middle of the woods at night by yourself in a foreign country alone. Did I mention alone? I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. And I won't ever do something like that again. But God was probably looking down and laughing at me, and because I was, y'all, when I say I was really feeling myself during the day too, I got in that palace, I was like strutting around, and God was like, look, let me humble her real quick. And I was quickly humbled. So that is my story about how your girl got stuck in a palace at night, and I survived. I'm here to tell the story, but I hope y'all learned something. If y'all go visit that palace, you better get there at the crack of dawn, unless you know that you're gonna move through it quicker and you don't really care about reading everything. Get there as early as possible, especially in peak seasons for tourists, because when I say the amount of people in the lines are crazy, they're crazy. So definitely my tip for you is, if you are going to the Palace of Versailles, get there early, plan ahead, prep. I'm not sure if you can bring food inside yourself. Otherwise, if I did know, I would recommend like bringing a lunch. I mean, there's plenty of places to eat there and stuff, but if you're trying to pinch a penny, you know, it is more on the expensive side. So plan for that either way. I hope you guys enjoyed another one of my crazy stories. I'm gonna have to bring y'all something normal next time, because I feel like I've only brought y'all craziness. So yeah, anyways, maybe I'll come with something a little bit more chill next time, because I got stories for days. So y'all let me know what y'all want to hear. I'm always open to discussing my experiences. So I hope you guys enjoyed as much as I did telling y'all. If you did, let me know your thoughts in the comments section. I want to hear what y'all would have done. If y'all were in that situation, would you have cried? Would you have called the police? Would you have stayed with the employees? What would you have done? And I got a lot of interesting stuff on the way now that we're kind of getting back to a normal schedule. At least I am. So definitely hit that subscribe, because I know I got some interesting stuff on the way for you guys, and I'm excited to share this upcoming content with you. So make sure you comment, like, and subscribe, y'all. Make sure you turn those post notifications on, and I look forward to talking with you guys in the next video.